What's going on here gamers? Today I'm going to be taking a look at the Diofield Chronicle, an upcoming strategy game. There's a great blend of tactics and action, and we'll be going over some tips perfect for starting out. If that interests you, stay tuned. What's coming up next? Welcome back everybody. Today I'll be going over some beginner tips for the Diofield Chronicle in order to get you all a good start upon its full release on the 22nd of September. For most major platforms including Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox and Steam. As always, if this helps you out, a like would be really appreciated, and if you'd like to become a member of the channel, then why not hit the subscribe and bell icon for all the latest and greatest gaming content, or you can follow me over at Twitter. Now, although the Diofield Chronicle isn't fully released yet, it has had a quite lengthy demo available to download, and after playing through it a few times, apart from being pleasantly surprised by just how good it is, I've also picked up a few tips and tricks along the way. Kicking it off with firstly, the only real choice will be the difficulty setting you wish to choose. This game comes with 3 options available: casual, normal or hard. I would highly recommend starting it off on normal. Casual to me seemed pretty much as the title suggests, it was quite easy. It's probably set out for those wanting to play through the storyline a little bit easier, have no real issues with the battles, and just to kind of see what the storyline's all about. Normal felt very balanced and required some tactics in order to try and get rewards from the missions, and hard actually seemed quite punishing from time to time, especially for someone just starting out. It may well be something you look at further down the line or in another playthrough. But the great thing is that with the difficulty, it isn't set in stone, so if you are struggling with a certain battle, you can always turn it down a notch. Or situation reversed, if you find it too easy, you can of course bop it up to that harder difficulty in order to test yourself a little bit further. Perfect if you're trying it a little bit further on, when you're better accustomed to the game or you've got better equipment and such. Now you'll want to get used to the 4 classes that are available for all of the characters to fit into. The blue sword represents your soldier class, up close and personal combat is their general forte. The red horse symbol represents the cavaliers, mounted units that can traverse terrain faster than other units. Your sharpshooters are your long range units, perfect for that AoE damage and distance, represented by the green arrow symbol. And finally, the purple staff icon represents your magicka class. These units, pretty much like they sound, are your mage class and can have a great effect on your battles through damage effects or also providing healing for your team. Finding the right combos of units, skills and playstyles can make battles much more entertaining, making some encounters go from tough to absolutely destroying them, or allowing for some nice team strategies. Not only can we have our lineup exactly how we want it, but we can also select an adjutant to go under each leader and accompany them in battle. These characters will allow for your leader to use whatever their first skill is very early on in the game, allowing for a bit of diversity with your character. For example, if you felt a cavalier was lacking a bit of AoE or range, then you could put a sharpshooter as their second. Or if you were worried about your tank just not being survivable enough, maybe a magicka underneath them being able to heal would be ideal. There will be a lot of choices available depending on your playstyle or what you feel a certain unit is lacking or would be better with. The only real thing you need to remember is that the secondary character doesn't get quite as much XP, so will level up slightly slower. Maybe in your best interest to put your favourite or strongest characters as the leaders and follow them up with other ones because you feel they've got a unique skill to bring to the table. Now you will be encountering and managing to recruit a lot of different characters along the way as you progress through the campaign, and no doubt how you will set up your lineup will change as you progress. However, at the start, the 3 characters you start out with, Andreas, Isolea and Frederick, who I'll be calling Andre, Izzy and Fred for ease from now on, these 3 are already a pretty ideal team and have most of the bases covered. Andre is a frontline character, but starting out think of him more so as an assassin or a rogue. His assassination skill is absolutely devastating for damage and teaches you early on that ambush damage, which is basically when you damage an enemy from behind, is absolutely king in this game and can really dwindle enemies' health fast. In fact, back attacks for all units are the way forward in this game, whenever you deem it possible. Izzy, I would say, is very much the foundation of the team. At the start, think of her as your tank with high health and some great starting skills. She can easily hold the aggro of enemies or stun them when needed, again helping the rest of your team with ambush tactics. And finally, Fred, whilst not being the most powerful at the start, looks to be a bit of a powerful late bloomer, with some great perks later on. But even at the start he has some great characteristics. As a cavalier he is the fastest of the bunch, perfect for early attacks or for capturing key locations, or even opening up chests. Also his skill Full Frontal Assault is very EP friendly at just 15 cost. You can use it very often before you run out of points, making him really useful in battle. Now the game itself is a real-time tactical battle game. Think of it as a merging of real-time and turn-based combat, because at any time you can select a unit which will effectively pause the battle, as well as the timer, allowing you to think things over for your next move or scroll through what skills your characters have available. This really helps you to decide what to do next, and the stoppage of pace helps you to strategize and survive. Very similar to older strategy games, you have the option to select single units, multiple units or all at once in order to move or attack an enemy. When you click on the enemy to attack, your troops will then auto attack them until only either you or they are left standing, or until you decide to move your units away or use a skill. One thing to be mindful of: if you are using a skill that's charging or is used for a set amount of time, if you pick all and move them away, the person using that skill will come straight out of it. Now whilst your auto attacks are an essential part of the game, a big emphasis is based on the skills your units have, so keep an eye on your EP points, as once they're dwindled down you won't be able to perform any skills. Until of course you've beat some more enemies or found some more EP points. Most of the time this is done through picking up the orbs around the map, or from fallen foes. If however you have some easy foes, sometimes it can work out well in order to focus your auto attacks, save some of that EP for your skills for those tougher units you'll be facing later on in that battle. But obviously this is dependent on how much EP you actually have and if you feel like you're going to run low. Another thing to cover would be the enemy's skill attacks. If you see a big old red error effect on the floor, then they're about to perform a special attack. There are a few options available to you at this point. One such would be burning down their health fast through a numerous amount of skill attacks from your characters. Performing a stun on them also works amazingly as it knocks them out from that skill. An ideal example of this would be Izzy's Shield Bash. And of course a nice easy one to remember, just straight up move your units from their line of sight or out of their range. As one of the greatest fighters of our time, Mr. Miyagi, once said, best defense is no be there. Also this can work perfect as most times enemies are casting those skills, they are pretty much stuck in place during that action, allowing for some easy manoeuvrability behind them in order to activate that ambush back attack again. Now the map of the battlefield is a kind of diorama. If you want to check it out during a battle, hit your battle status overview and you can scout the entire area out. This is ideal if you're trying to scout out any chests, capture points or points of interest in general. Also you can look where certain items to pick up are, like coloured orbs. The orbs that you pick up during these battles are actually very important as they serve to replace much needed points for your characters, with green replenishing a part of all units' health, purple replenishing your EP for skill use, and TP replenishing points for your TP gauge, these being the blue orbs, which in turn allows for the use of your summons. And speaking of summons, or as they're called in this game, which doesn't sound quite as appealing I must admit, Magilumic Orbs. These are powerful moves that can really change the tide of battle, and like I said earlier, can only be accessed once the TP gauge has reached enough points in order to use them. Once you've filled up the gauge completely, you're going to get a big old orb lighting up. At the very start, the max you can get is free, but as you progress through the campaign, you can upgrade this as you go, allowing for more powerful summons or being able to use them more often. But even with the very first one you gain, which costs only 1, the summon itself is far from weak and probably needs no introduction, and that summon is Bahamut himself. Click to use him and watch as this massive dragon lays waste to your enemies caught in its area effect. You'll unlock more of these as you progress, but in general they can be real game changers, so be careful when you use them. Such as the Gold Horn that can replenish your team's HP and EP, which in itself, like I said, can actually be quite game changing and can easily turn a loss from a battle into a win. Now TP for these summons can be accrued via the blue orbs as mentioned before, but also you generate it upon defeating enemies. Finally, for the battles, remember that you can adjust the pace in which the battle plays out, and that's at the top right by adjusting the speed. so you'll be getting around the area faster, as well as everything happening faster in real time. For example, your troop movement, the opposing troop movement, and of course the timer. This can be changed from 1 to 1.5 all the way up to 2 times speed if you want it to. Now, while this is actually a good thing, I would say, especially if you're on those tougher boss battles, you may want to knock it down a bit, because if you don't react in time and you get caught in one of their AoEs because you haven't moved out of the way or use your skills in time, you can find yourself in a bit of a bind. Now, another great feature of these battles is the fact that even if you do screw up and you make a mistake, so for example you lose a mission or you feel like you're not going to get the full rewards that you're after because you've made an epic mistake, then upon failing the mission you can always choose to restart at an earlier chapter that you've completed. So for example, if you'd killed an abundance of troops, made your way all the way to the end, but you'd really made some mistakes in the last fight, you could lose it and then go back to a previous chapter in order to correct your efforts. Now, next up we'll be covering some of the ways in which you can upgrade your units, with the first one being your mercenary unit rank. As you complete special quests or battles, you'll be rewarded by your unit rank upgrading through certain unlocks, such as new shop stock, increased XP from battles, and a whole host of other perks you'll want to get your hands on and unlock whenever you can, in order to get the most from the game and your characters. So keep an eye out for quests like these that will award special bonuses like the one you see here that unlock certain perks and mount up as you get more of them. Now onto the skill tree. You'll see the 4 classes that we went over earlier, and there's symbols at the bottom of each tree, with each character being categorised into one of them, such as Andre and Izzy in the soldier class. You'll be able to unlock additional strength for your skills as you progress up the skill tree and purchasing them with SP. For example, if I unlock the Photon Blade, at level 1 this will increase the attack speed by 20% while on cooldown, whereas at level 2 it reduces the EP cost by 20% and at max tier 3 increases damage by 30% during cooldown again. Every skill you are looking at will have its own unique upgrades, so it may be an idea in order to plan out your path and see which ones will work well in your team. Now, the level of these will be raised once you start upgrading parts of your mercenary rank, as you can see indicated at the top here, so again look out for special unlocks from missions. Now, this next part take with a pinch of salt, because during the demo I hadn't progressed far enough unfortunately in order to obtain all of these skills. As you can see down the bottom, the conditions for acquiring these skills have not been met. Probably what we'll have to do is upgrade our character by gaining some more XP and going through various missions in order to acquire these. For the moment, what we're going to have to rely on is grabbing them off of weapons that you can purchase from the shop vendors. So look out for ideal ones that have really powerful skills that you're after. And also the store has a whole range of weapons for extra characters as you're progressing, ranging from sword and shield all the way up to bows and claws. But only specific units can use each of these, so make sure you know they can before you're purchasing them. Also, later on, something that wasn't available in the demo, I would hazard a guess you'll be able to create or modify weapons via the Institute and its weapon development. Now, our very last thing to cover is your character's abilities, and just how you can upgrade them with your required AP points. The unlocks range from 1 all the way to a costly 10 AP, and the final node can only be unlocked once your unit is at rank 5. Some of these are really worth unlocking early, and don't think just because they're only 1 point you should skip them and save up, as some of them are actually really helpful early on, like 50 extra HP for Fred can really make life a little bit easier, or 10 extra EP. Make sure you check through these, as a lot of the ones are well worth picking up. All in all, there's actually quite a lot to do to make you powerful in this game and have a lot of frantic but still strategic combat fun. Obviously there's a little while before it's out, so I can't say whether or not this is going to be a hit, but in my eyes it does seem like it's got a lot going for it, and if you're a big fan of strategy games, especially JRPG ones, this may well float your boat. But as always, let me know in the comments what you all think. For all things gaming, for all things Xbox, take care, I'll see you on next day.